No, this is not a silly joke. This is a serious video. Burnout Paradise is the Breath of the Wild of racing games. Does this look like a face that would deceive you? Don't answer that. In short, Breath of the Wild's open world philosophy of always keeping the next interesting adventure within eyesight from any point on the map was being done by Burnout Paradise almost an entire decade before Zelda got its scrubby little claws on it. Now you might call that a bold claim. I just call it the truth! But in case you don't believe me, let me explain myself. In Burnout Paradise, you play as a young new driver who just hit the streets of the big city, Paradise City, but your driver's license has a few wrinkles on it, so to get a new one, you have to kill dozens of other drivers across the streets of Paradise City in order to get a prettier one. But you may be asking, how does one get a nicer license per se?
Well, if you gotta know.
At every intersection in Paradise City, there's a challenge to accomplish. We have road rages, in which you have to drive against other cars and smash into them, takedown as the game calls it. You have to do a certain amount under the time limit or before your car gets totaled, but each takedown extends your time limit, so the more you crash, the more you dash. Who put this in the script? Another game mode is Marked Man, in which you need to drive from one point on the map to another without being taken down by other cars who are trying to wreck your ride. The third game mode is the regular race. You just have to drive from one point to another and beat the cars around you. But the cool thing about having races in an open world map is that since you spend time driving around, you can learn the layout of the city and pave your own shortcuts in order to beat the other racers. The game also makes this viable since there are only a handful of finish lines across the city, so you can figure out where you need to end up, even if you take a wrong turn along the way there. The game also gives you little turn signals so you know where to go, in case you aren't familiar with the city yet. There's no waypoint though, but I think it's a good thing. It won't lead the player to strictly follow a single path, and not being able to predict efficient turns makes it so the handling and turning of cars becomes important. Missing an important turn in some cases can lead to losing the race, and since some of the fastest cars are the easiest to crash, it makes it so no race is a guaranteed win. The fourth game mode is the stunt run, in which you have to run off ramps, break through billboards, barrel through shortcuts, and basically do everything in your power to use your car as a skateboard. And the final game mode worth mentioning is the Burning Routes, which are unique races that require a specific vehicle in order to activate. But the prize is an upgraded version of the car you're currently driving. This is my least favorite game mode just because so many spaces on the map end up being occupied by it, but honestly it's not too big of a problem. Since they are unique to each car, it's exciting to challenge your current vehicle. But that's not all! After winning enough races in game modes, a new car will run into Paradise City. This means that while you're strolling down the street, you can see someone flash by you, leading to a chase. If you manage to take the car down, that car ends up going to your garage, adding it to your collection. At first, this is easy enough since they aren't too fast and can be kept up with, but later on, these cars will give chase. These chases have resulted in some of the most memorable moments of the game for me, since I've sometimes gone across the entire map before being able to take the car down, or I'll sometimes lose that car entirely, leading to a rivalry and more motivation to find them again. But enough about game modes. What does Zelda's breath have to do with Gran Turismo? I'll tell you what. Well, I already kinda did. Some of the things that make Breath of the Wild one of the best open world games are the fun exploration tools, climbing, and general sense of discovery. You can basically go to any point on the map, and if you find something that piques your interest, you can just go out and see that place up close and personal. Also, the personal sense of growth is fantastic. Getting obliterated by your first Lionel only to be able to do backflips over them in the endgame makes it feel like you've grown a lot over the course of the game. And there are even shrines! I don't like most of them, but look at this sick tunic I found. My point being, both of these games include challenges that are scattered across the map, tangible progression, a general sense of discovery thanks to the fun maneuvering mechanics, and you're never far from the next adventure thanks to the world's layout. I don't think I'm reaching when I say these games have more in common than they don't. You might say that it's an unfair comparison and that these two games don't have enough in common to be comparable, but to that, I say Burnout Paradise is the Dark Souls of driver's ed. Not for any particular reason besides I think it's kind of funny imagining this citywide destruction being caused by a 16-year-old who got lost on their way to their part-time job at Circuit City. Alright, so this feels geared toward the car guy demographic. But honestly, the game is just a lot of fun. Driving at speeds fast enough to say, getting on a streak and just destroying as many cars as you possibly can before you crash and launch yourself into the air. There's not a drop of substance, but there's a city's worth of fun to be had here. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that it's better than Breath of the Wild, because it's not. But just picking this up and going buck wild across the city is a lot of fun. There are a lot of other gameplay modes and mechanics I could get into, but I really don't see a reason to. I want to focus on bringing this mentality of having fun adventures scattered across the map into more open world games, because I'm tired of dull open worlds with a ton of land to explore but not a lot to do in them. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is that Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne is part of the soundtrack. Play the game!